Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Talk Show. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle and triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth and give their inspiration in order to uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question. What do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Talk Show. We have had over 400 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list. If you are watching us live or if you are watching us on the replay, make sure that you share this video wherever you're watching us at so we can get more eyes and more ears on the awesome content that we're about to share today. If you are watching this on the replay, if you could hashtag replay in the comments so we can pop in and we can send you some love wherever you are watching us at. Listen, this is Her Talk Show. We come from the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people, other people's stories, other people's inspiration, other people's experiences, and just knowledge in general. Today, I'm speaking with an amazing woman named Melanie Booher. Melanie is the president of PEOPLEfirst Talent and Retention Consulting. Her book, Conscious Culture, launched summer of 2021. She also created cards for culture to gamify and drive organizational culture in an innovative and fun way. She lives outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, with her husband and 3 children. We are here to welcome Miss Melanie. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me today. And I'm already kind of laughing because I'm the president of 2 businesses, and the one we're going to talk about today is Influence Network Media. So I'm already laughing at our. I'm already taking this for a spin. Sorry, Sabrina.
That's okay. Because I said the 2 wrong things.
Well, I sent you got a bio, but you got the bio that's, I have 2 companies, right? So today we're talking about Influence Network Media, and that's my fault, not yours. We can just laugh it off and know that we're talking about the other side.
Influence what? Can I write it down?
Please, I apologize. Influence Network Media.
Network Media.
Yes.
I love that. Well, we love to dive in here on this podcast, asking our guests, what's the thing that you know? What's the thing where you're sitting around talking to your friends, your spouse, your kids, your friends, and you're like, if everybody just knew this one thing, it would be so much easier. That's what we like to talk about here. That thing that's your thing that you're really good at. What do you know that we should all know?
All right. So for me, I'm going to say that it's this idea. So I wrote a book a few years ago, lots of people becoming authors. I think that's great. What I love is that even though I have a solo book, the thing that I discovered is the multiplier effect of having a group or a collective book has been amazing. So it takes away the fear of writing, right? Like there's some magical lift, if you will, of writing with other people. And so that's really what I wanted to kind of share a little bit more about today, just why someone might do that and how it could benefit their life.
I love it. Tell us all the things.
All the things. So like I said, I put out my original book and people always say, well, why would you want to write in a collective then? I'm like, well, because I like people and I love to network. And I thought, what if right now I have a book that I'm working on? It's a culture book. So that's the business that I also have, my culture business. But I'm pulling in culture leaders from across the country because I might have one way to help companies with their workplace culture, but there's lots of ways to do it. So if you can kind of come from an abundance mindset of how can I help other people who are talking about the same and passionate about the same topic, we can all write a book together. So it's a collection of short stories, and you bring in thought leaders to tell their story about something. So I'm excited that this is the first one I'm doing that's just about culture, how to create like a best place to work environment and all the different things you might do to make that happen, which is huge coming out of COVID. We're seeing just so many employers having problems with like keeping employees and those kinds of things. So I think it'll be a really good book for both employees and the employer.
Employers are having a hard time keeping employees. Why?
Probably because a lot of them are assholes. But let's see here. I always say, I've been doing a presentation recently. Life's too short to work with jerks, which is true, right? Like we only get one life. Like we should really enjoy what we do. And unfortunately, so many people don't. You start talking to them about their work and they're like, I'm not happy. Whatever. So, for me, like that's that big push. Like, how can you enjoy what you do better? And how do we share that?
What do you think is the divide between being a jerk boss and being a boss that makes sure that everything's getting done? What does that look like? Because sometimes bosses don't even get it. They're like, you're not a boss. You don't understand that most people are lazy. Most people don't give a crap. Social media pulls them in every direction possible. So if I don't have some sort of a whip out, nothing's getting done the way that it's supposed to be getting done. And the money is coming from somewhere. We're paying these people. So what is a couple of things that you could share to a boss who might be listening right now thinking, yeah, we're jerks?
Absolutely. The biggest thing, and I always say respect is free. Like if you could lead with that, that's free consulting, right? Like no one needs to pay me to think about, hey, I can lead with respect. And that's the biggest difference between a boss that I think has people willing to run through walls for them or has constant turnover, people leaving them. They can't keep can't keep teammates. And that's a problem in the US. I think they're saying right now there's 1.7 jobs for every one person. That's huge. If you want to keep good people, then you have to treat them right. That's kind of the essence of
respect.
Respect is huge. Yep.
What's another one?
So again, if I'm going to drive to culture, it's getting everyone on the same page. So I have a game that I created. We're going down both paths at this point. This is the game that I created. It's called Cards for Culture. Ooh, can you see it there? There you go. And so I would say as a leader, if I'm not sure where to start, I would use a tool like this, play a game with my leadership team and get everyone on the same page. So when I say, we value integrity or we are innovative or whatever it is, whatever those pretty words are on your conference room wall, does your leadership team all think the same thing? Or do they think something completely different? Because that's usually what happens. They don't define them in the same way. And you want to be able to say, nope, when I say we stand for great customer service, this is what we mean. We go above and beyond. We deliver on a timely basis. We give the customer what they need, not just what they ask for. And when you can get your whole team kind of row in the same direction, that's how you start to have great workplace culture.
Can you share with us a card?
Yeah, I can share. I can only give it to you. So the idea in my book, right, is that I know this is one great way to do it, but I know I'm not the only way to drive great culture. So I'm really trying to find other ways, other tools. Like for so long, people have said, well, how can you don't work for my company. You're not here every day. How can you possibly help us with culture? And I'm like, well, I gotta look behind the magic curtain. But if we play a game, so here's an example. So we start off with, this is the Cards for Culture. This is the first deck, Keys to Success. And if you've ever played like Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, that's kind of, I know those are copyrighted, but this is my own copyrighted game, Cards for Culture. You would sit down with your leadership team and start with these cards, and you would pick the ones that are most important to you. So Sabrina, like what's really important to you? Something like if you were at a workplace, you would say, this is essential. Give me an example. Wait.
Choice.
Say it again.
Choice.
Like that you choose what you want to do. Okay, so good. So one, there are cards that are already defined, and there are cards that you can write in what you would say is something that's really important. So while you might be saying choice, what you also might be saying is that you value independence, right? That everybody has a different, or curiosity or innovation, right? That's important.
Yeah.
So we have like the first set of cards, there's like 50 some of them, I don't know. And we want to get it down to like the top 10. So you play with your leadership team and you really kind of hone in. And while all of them are going to be important, things like having a choice, being resilient, being clear on expectations, being a team player, right? Being innovative, being a lifelong learner. No one's going to say any of these are bad, but you've got to pick the ones you want to focus on. So as a leadership team, what we're finding is they don't have these conversations. Like someone has created, a marketing person has thrown the words on the wall and everyone's like, yeah, let's just follow those. Those look like good words. They're typically the same words, by the way, over and over and over. They're integrity, innovation, service. I mean, it's the same things all the time. And so what we're saying is get people involved. Let them help you pick what should be, important at your organization, and then drive to it. So that's just the first deck, by the way. There's 3 decks.
So everybody gets like just a handful of cards and then they pick their top 2 and then those go into a pile and then they take that pile and then kind of dwindle it down to what? What's ideal? Yeah. How many words should a company have?
We say it's as many as you're comfortable with. Most are averaging between 6 and 15. The idea isn't to memorize them, but then you start to set up the behaviors that you want to see within them. So once you've picked the ones that you're going to focus on, the next deck of cards are driving to the behaviors. And I don't want to give a whole game recap here, but this next deck, the blue deck, is what behaviors drive that. So we're humans.
Oh, so if it was like integrity, what are the behaviors that lead to a company that has integrity?
Yes. And how do we drive to that? So it would be things like, we show respect at all times. We honor our commitments. Whatever, there are actually a lot more cards in the behavior deck. Same kind of thing where you're going around the table and you're tossing in the ones that you're like, well, I think we do this and I think we do this. And it just opens up the conversation. It's tough conversations that leaders typically have not had in their organization. Yeah.
It's kind of similar to a conversation that couples should have that don't have.
For sure. Yeah. Well, or even like in your family.
Relationships should also have 6 to 15 values.
Right?
So that's cool.
We also have one in a relation that's like empty the dishwasher, because that's one of my biggest, maybe that's love languages. Maybe that's how people are assessing that in relationships. I'm not sure.
That's acts of service there, Melanie.
It is. That's my love language. Acts of service.
That's totally mine too, for sure. That's so funny. So, so you are creating a book collective also on culture. So exactly what the cards are about.
So it is. So like my chapter will be about the cards. And then I want to hear other brilliant coaches, consultants, leaders that are like, yeah, I also have something that I do, a tool or a coaching style. Everybody does things differently. And it impacts culture. We've got someone who's a professional organizer, right? And she can show that by getting organized and how you handle your workplace, that impacts performance, which impacts culture, right? So there's so many different angles to kind of come at this. We've got one lady who her whole business is on helping companies win Best Place to Work awards. How do you do that? What's the journey? How do I navigate that? So there's a variety of authors. And I just found, as soon as I went out to my LinkedIn family, and kind of said, hey, who else is a culture leader? I have one way. What else you got? Lots of people came forward. And so it's going to be exciting. And again, I go back to, I can put out solo books. That's great. And I have followers. Okay. That's amazing. But if I can help other people and we can I'm a big reader. If I could read Cliff Notes, everything, I probably would. But imagine, right, you're reading 10 chapters, 10-ish, 10 different people, and it's a condensed quality chapter about their area of passion that they're a thought leader about. And I'm like, what better way to really spread that? And then you get this multiplier effect. That's the thing that people don't recognize, where my content will get out to all of their networks, right? Because they're all going to share it, like it. And I hope someone reads the book and says, oh, I like her chapter. But they might not. They'll read the other chapters and it'll drive business to my colleagues as well. And I think that's great. So
Influence Network Media, is this a company that produces book collectives?
Yes. Jody Brandstetter and I started that as a spinoff. So again, my main business, Culture, this business was a passion project that we saw the potential of, oh my gosh, when we bring together leaders, there's this magical thing that happens. So we've been creating collectives. We call ourselves a hybrid publisher. We've been in business going on 3 years, and we have 110 new authors and 17 books, which is pretty fun for someone who I never thought I'd publish a book. You couldn't have told me that would be in my future. So
yeah, there's a lot of, goods and bads when it comes to doing a collective. I've heard both sides as far as the benefits and the negatives of that. What would you say are the biggest positives besides the obvious, which you already said, like somebody reads Sally's book, buys it for Sally, and then winds up reading your story? What's another benefit or two as to why somebody would jump into a collective?
What we hear are, well, one, it's great for marketing. So it's the multiplier effect. It's great for credibility and visibility. If you want to get speaking engagements, podcasts, whatever, like, it's great. It'll open doors to getting speaking engagements that you might not have had before, because, I've been turned away at places because I didn't have a book. What else? For some people, it's just about sharing their knowledge, being seen as an expert, leaving their legacy. So they want to be able to show their kids, like, hey, I did this, or, I'm leaving my legacy. We've had some authors that are coming from a big company, and they just want professional development, right? And their company's like, hey, we'll invest in this. And it's very economical, and they can walk away an author. Like, there's not, to me, there's a lot of upside. Now, I will tell you, I did participate in one that wasn't my favorite outside of ours. And we learned kind of what not to do. You want to go that side too?
I love that you're saying that, because that was going to be my next question. With the community that I'm building, within Her Nation, which is where her talk show stems from, looking to build the largest all-female community on the planet, I am getting my door knocked on consistently by companies who run collective type media atmospheres, because they're like, you have a community. I'm certain that there's at least 10 women in that community that would be interested in speaking on this topic or writing on this topic. And it gets to be a little like fishy as far as like who's good and who's bad. So in your opinion, along with what you were just saying, what should someone like me or someone out there who is dabbling and thinking about doing it, what is like some tales as far as it being a good company to jump into, and like a not a good company to jump in?
So again, we're business women, and we call ourselves a hybrid publisher, because everything we've learned has been through the School of Hard Knocks, publishing our own books, right? And research and other stuff like that. What I will say is where I think we add a different value. We put our authors first. We are not trying to sit in their pockets continually. So you'll have a lot of publishers that they get a % of your sales for perpetuity. Or they get ownership of your creation. They get the IP. We don't do that. So like when our people write with us, we want them to have their own IP, their own creation. We set up. So in your case, what they're probably saying to you is they want you to maybe be the leader and then pull in authors that could write with you. Okay. So we call that a collective leader. And when we do it, we set it up so that if you are a leader and you bring the people, we do all the heavy lifting behind the scenes and you get the royalties. And that's not how a lot of them set it up. we also keep prices down really low so that we're not gouging people when they want to buy their author copies. And I can tell you that doesn't typically happen either. So we're trying to do it in the most economical way because we're not trying to build this business on book sales, which is also different. We want to build it on, if you get a client from the book, you've made your money back, right? Book sales is a hard way to go to get all of your money back because you're only going to make, Amazon takes a chunk. Everybody wants a chunk, right? And shipping and handling and this and that. So by the time you actually get money from it, even if you say you make $10 per book, how much you got to sell a lot of books. And I don't know about you, but I didn't set out to be a book seller. I wanted to grow my business. So I love that we set it up in a way that is about, it's great marketing. And if I sell one book, then I have earned my money back and I'm not tied to, I keep my IP. So now that's if you're the leader. So on the culture book that I'm leading, I'm the leader, right? And I happen to also be with Influence Network Media. So in this example, Influence Network Media is going to get the royalties for this, but we coach our people on how to get it themselves. So if they buy it online, yes, it goes to me. But if one of my culture leaders is like, hey, I want to go speak and I want to make money off my book, I'm going to get paid to speak. And I would say, awesome. I would sell her the author copies and for a discount, typically it's whatever Amazon charges. So let's say they charge about $5. And that's for each book with shipping and handling, whatever. And she can sell them for $20. Great. So we'll send her the books. She'll order them online. She'll pay the $5 per book, but she can collect the $15. So when she sells them at her speaking gig, on her website, from the trunk of her car, however she wants to sell them, she can collect the money from her book. But if they come to Amazon, yes, they would be buying it from us. And so there's kind of just we're not really promoting buy from us because we want people to buy from our authors. I'm trying to think of other, yeah.
What are some red flags that we should be looking out for? There's no-goes.
No-goes. Kind of the pushiness. I wish I had asked more questions when I did it with the other way. Example, like I know how much Amazon charges for a print on demand book, and it's not that much. It's based on size. And I would say it probably is between, I don't even know, $3 and $5, $6, whatever, to get your book printed. So when they're saying, and we'll sell you copies of your own book for $14, well, that's because they're taking $10 every time you sell a book. And it's like, that's not, again, I always just felt like their hands in your pocket. So that who owns the IP is big. How they treat you, do they follow up? Do they have any other offerings? So our authors said, hey, okay, this is great. I have a book. Now what? So we started putting together like a list of places they could podcast. So we have a couple different offerings. We have just become an author, or the middle package, if you will, where we have courses. So we're teaching them how to do this stuff. Teaching them the author side, teaching them, there's a course on media. So how to podcast, giving them a list of podcasts they might want to visit. That's the middle tier package. And then there's the VIP package, which is then teaching them how to be a great speaker. So there's a course on how to be a speaker. And then there's how would I use my book to become a speaker? How can I leverage my book? And we're teaching people all along the way. It's about branding yourself. And I will tell you all of this. You can go to the website to check it out, but it's so economical. These packages all range between like $1,100 and $2,500. Like that's not expensive. I paid $1,200 just for my book cover because I didn't know, this is for my solo. I didn't have the connections. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know that I needed to format it for ebook and paperback and that the spine had to be this big or else I couldn't read the words. I had to figure it all out with my designer and I paid her an hourly rate, right? $1,200 later, I had an amazing cover, which I love. There it is. Or there's Conscious Culture. But we can take that headache out of it, right? We want busy business people to find it easy, and we'll do all that stuff. So we hired editors and doing the design work and all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. I love that. As far as being an author, I feel like I said, I've interviewed over 400 women for this platform on top of all of my networking calls and sales calls. I mean, this is thousands of people that I've talked to over the last 10 years. And I'm going to say like 80% of the women and a few men that I have spoken to have thought or want to be an author. What's the holdup? What's the limiting belief? What is the reason why people don't jump into that?
We have found 3. So the barriers that I see are time. So I'm busy. I don't have time to do it. And when you're talking about a book, even though short books are the trend, people want less than 200 pages typically. There's even micro books. Busy business people are like, how am I going to do that? Like I need, 70,000 words, and what's the structure, and how do I engage my reader, and how do I keep it interesting? Like people start to get overwhelmed with it. Knowledge is the other one, which is, okay, I don't know how to do that. And yes, I know I can use Grammarly, but is that appropriate editing? And I don't know how to do a cover design. And then how do I get it on Amazon? So there's all the like process knowledge, right? So there's not only the content and writing, then there's the process knowledge. And then the other piece is cost. So when you get an estimate from a publisher for a solo, a lot of times your price tag is between $15,000 and $30,000. That's huge. That's a big chunk. And people are like, I don't know if I have that. Should I pay that? Is it worth it? I mean, if they're going to, showcase you out the wazoo and help you sell books, that sounds great. Typically, their packages are not complete. So you might get a great publisher, but they don't do marketing, right? Or they might publish, but then there's just like elements that are missing. So again, we approached it from a business perspective. Let's help people get this out there. So time, cost,
knowledge.
And knowledge. Those are the 3 things. And we feel like we've jumped all those barriers for people, right? By doing a collective, it's 1/10 of the time, it's 1/10 of the cost, right? Like it's all those things like that. It really makes it pretty awesome.
Yeah, I totally get that. When we first opened up and started talking here, you said something. You said more and more people are becoming authors, or it's becoming easier to be an author or something like that. Mm-hmm. And to that point, I have read some really bad books. Like bad books. Just a total waste of my time. Okay. How does a collective keep those at bay to make sure that my section of the book is surrounded by equal writers?
Yeah. So you're kind of talking like quality assurance. Like, can we do that? How does it? It's a little bit, we have editors, we're formatting, we're pulling in business people. So, we don't want to make assumptions that all business people know what the hell they're talking about, but there's a little bit of that. But we also are very upfront on the fact that this is a collection of short stories. While the common theme and the passion theme, right, that we're writing about will be similar, they're all going to have their different flow. We're not telling you to write in the same exact way. We want them to hear your voice. So it's okay if, I would say we're going to have some stronger writers than others, but we are going to edit. We're going to make suggestions. Like we're going to try and help them. The courses that we create help in that a little bit. So Jody, my business partners, created the course that's like, how do I best structure my chapter? How do I keep it interesting, right? How do you add some stories, right? How do I brainstorm if I get stuck? But there's also a real focus on quality over quantity. So when you're trying to get that book you might have read when they needed the 70,000 words, they were just adding stuff because they needed words, right? When you're focusing on, our chapters are 1,500 to 3,500 words. 1,500 words is a blog on steroids, right? So when you're getting quality over quantity, I think that's really important, that you can really hone in and focus on what you know in your topic.
Mm-hmm. I love that. As far as women who are on the edge as far as jumping into a collective, what would you tell them? Why should they really
Kenna, get the dog.
think hard about jumping into a collective with other people?
You mean like in a positive way? Like, why should they do
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. There's a lot of people on the fence. You know, there's a lot of people that are like, should I, shouldn't I? I don't really know. Maybe. Why should they?
I think it is a strategic kind of networking and marketing that you can't get in other ways. So I mean, I've read all kinds of ways to market my business, and what I really wanted was something different. I love the fact that, you know, this culture book we're working on, I'm going to be tied to these people for life. Like, that's, to me, that's really cool. There's a reason though why then you might want to be the leader because you're tied with them for life, right? Like, whose name do I really want to see on the cover with mine? You know, there might be people you really do or you really don't. So if you want to be choosy about it, you choose your own people, right? You become the collective leader. We'll do the heavy lifting, but you be it. If you want to just be part of someone else's, great. You lose a little bit of control and creative license because you're just the chapter. We let our collective leaders help with like title and cover design. They get to pick. They get a little bit more say. But when you're kind of just a part of it, you got to kind of get along a little bit, right? And be agreeable and those kinds of things. So we have had great responses from our leaders that have participated. A couple that said, hey, I made my money back before the book even published because I got to know these other authors. The Marketing Fusion was one of those books, especially. And before the book even got out, we had one woman who was a, you know, SEO expert, and she needed the woman's services who did sales funnels, you know, and they talked and she was like, I already, you know, 5 times my investment because I got this great project. And that's the kind of stuff we want to see from it. And we know that can happen, especially when you're calling on similar types of clients typically, right? Like if I'm the person calling, you know, looking for culture leaders or looking for culture improvement, those are the people that I want to be part of my group.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. So Influence Network Media. How does that company help humankind?
I think if we're talking humankind, you know, I feel like it's some element of helping people find their voice, amplify their voice, right? People that maybe feel like they've not been heard before and they have this ability to get it out there and share what they're doing. I think that's a really important piece. And that you can be bigger than yourself, right? You may have some area of expertise you want to show, but you don't know how to get it out to help others. You know, just like my Pay It Forward initiative. I really wanted, sorry, dogs and kids coming home from school. I really wanted people to be able to take culture and make the world a better place because of it. And so I did that. I tied in what I'm doing on working with culture. And I feel like I can do that with this. You know, I can actually improve workplaces because I'm getting my voice out there, right? I'm getting it into more hands. People are sharing it. Some people say it's a little Pollyanna or it's a little, you know, big daydreamy stuff, but I think it's exciting. So
definitely. Yeah, I agree. So as far as people that are watching live, by the way, thank you so much for being here. For those of you watching on the replay, if you could hashtag replay wherever you're watching us at. For those that are watching live, they're obviously resonating with what you're saying. They've made it up to this point, 34 minutes in. Where can they find you online? Where can they dive into more about what Influence Networking Media does and learn a little bit more?
Please, yes. So I would love to connect with people on LinkedIn. That's my preferred. I know that's a little businessy, but definitely, you know, look for me on LinkedIn and we can connect there. And then we have, you know, website. So if you go to overnightauthor.com, and it will actually allow you to download our free chapter of how you might use your book or your chapter to benefit your business. So you can get that chapter for free, which is pretty cool. And so that's overnightauthor.com. And I'm trying to think what else. if you want to learn more or you want to see the pricing and the packages that I talked about before, that address is actually inmauthor.com/collective. So Influence Network Media, inmauthor.com/collective. And you can see some of those, the pricing for that as well.
Very, very cool. What are your big dreams for your business?
Oh, mine's that pay it forward dream. It always is. It's that idea that I can help others. I really am not motivated by money, much to my business partner's chagrin. When we say that, I'm like, I'm helping people and it feels good. And, I want to be able to feed the fam and all that kind of stuff. But knowing that we can help people and they're growing their businesses, 110 authors that we've helped so far, that just feels good to me. So to keep doing that, feels like we're helping people achieve a bucket list item, and that's not something that you can always say. So
I like that bucket list. That's so true. Definitely. Mm-hmm. Why do you do what you do? Well, you actually kind of already answered that. How about this? Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts.
Yes.
I would say set those goals for yourself, right? If anyone had said to me, oh, you'll publish books someday, I would have laughed. Actually, my husband's an English journalism guy. I would have said he would have done it before me. But I am taking what I know and I'm helping others. I'm leading with heart, which for me, that is what I really wanted to do in life. There's that whole idea, right, that you have the years of your life, but it's really about how you spend your dash. I know there's a pretty poem about that, but that's what you want. Like, you want to be able to be known for the fact that you did something to help others. I may not get to volunteer in the community as much as I would like, but I know that I'm making an impact for people by doing this kind of work. So I hope that I can keep doing that.
Yes, 100. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. Definitely a lot of information here for anyone who is looking to be an author and join a collective. Lots of the goods and the bads around that and why it's a good idea. I so love you giving us some information on this and what that would look like for somebody who has been maybe thinking about this. This might be the little nudge that they needed. So appreciate you coming on and reminding us that this exists. And this is a great way to just kind of, dip your toe in the water and get going on that. And who knows, you start here and within a year, you're diving into an entire book. So it's a good little stepping stone. Thank you so much, Melanie, for being here. For those of you watching live or on the replay, if you resonated with all the goodness that Melanie shared, make sure you check her out predominantly on LinkedIn. And then her website is linked in the description wherever you are watching us at below. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure that we all continue to rise. Thank you so much for joining us here on Her Talk Show. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. Reach out to me at hernation.life with any questions about getting onto the show yourself. My name is Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others